Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer. Are you a Chinese learner? Do you know the best way to learn Mandarin Chinese? Well, I have some comments to share with you.
What is the best way to learn Chinese? Most people answer this question with suggestions like spend a year in China, enroll in a Mandarin class, or even find a Chinese boyfriend or girlfriend. Or the person might recommend some learning service or software and then be done with it. Of course, I also can recommend to you specific materials, methods, or software. But tools and technology are always changing some solid principles about the best way to learn Chinese. On the other hand, will always serve you in your quest to speak perfect Mandarin. So I will give you both. Now let us begin. 1. Mix and match. Learning Chinese is not encompassed in one single skill. Just like playing baseball, you need to play your position in the field as well as come up to bat. Listening, speaking, reading, vocabulary building are all skills with distinct requirements. The best way to learn Chinese is to develop a program for yourself that develops all the right skills to the right degree. It also follows that there is no one key solution, including the girlfriend, that will do this for you. Rather, you should use a whole bunch of methods and a variety of resources. 2. Start with pinyin. The best way to learn Chinese does not have one single starting point, but I will tell you where I started and would recommend highly that you do the same. The recommendation is simple. Learn pinyin. You can focus on pinyin exclusively if you have a teacher to guide you, but more natural is that you pick up pinyin as you begin to learn some basic Chinese words and phrases. Or you can do a combination of both, the focus on pinyin approach and the pick up pinyin as you go approach. I myself used the pick up pinyin as you go approach, but I have seen with other learners the advantage of having a teacher systematically go through teaching pinyin with you right from the start. 3. Get someone to coach you on pronunciation. You cannot separate learning pinyin from learning Chinese pronunciation. So when I say learn pinyin, I am talking about getting a good foundation for your pronunciation. Remember that the best way to learn Chinese is to give Mandarin pronunciation the attention it requires right from the start. Here, it is definitely good to have a coach to encourage your efforts and point out your errors. 5. Listen this way. The best way to learn Chinese involves getting a lot of input. This means listening, and this means reading. In the beginning stages, it is necessary to rely almost completely on materials specific for us foreigners learning Chinese, as opposed to authentic materials like movies, magazines, and the like. Listening and reading can be done, of course, without a teacher or class. You can create your own program. If you have some source for listening, like a podcast or apps, you should be able to also see the text. Viewing the text as you listen, after you listen, before you listen, or any combination, are all good strategies. So remember this very important point in choosing your materials. If you can read it, you should be able to listen to it too. If you are going to listen to it, you should be able to have the text to read as well. I can recommend some podcasts and apps. The Chinese Part is a very good podcast, and the 10,000 Mandarin Chinese is a very good app for a Chinese learner. But the best way to learn Chinese is to make an effort to have both whenever possible, because this will increase the efficiency of your study a lot. Over time, this is going to make a big difference in your progress. 5. Do you really need to learn to read Chinese? Some people feel they just want to speak the language. no need for reading. They do not want to learn to read characters. I would not shy away from telling you that the best way to learn Chinese includes learning to recognize Chinese characters. There are many reasons, and I do not want to go into them all in detail here. But do not imagine that learning a character for a word is just an added task. Rather, it will have the effect of reinforcing what you already know about the language. Overall, in the long run, learning to recognize Chinese characters is going to make learning Chinese easier for you, not more difficult. 6. Build your vocabulary this way. In the simplest terms, some folks will reduce learning a language to the learning of words. There is something to be said for this way of thinking. Vocabulary is important, and the best way to learn Chinese is to always be building your vocabulary. 7. Use flashcards. As for the systematic approach, flashcards have always been, and still are, great language learning tools. And with current technology, flashcards today can be quite smart and efficient little aids. 8. The best way to learn Chinese is to speak a lot. Speaking is so important in our minds. In fact, when we talk about learning a language, we talk about learning to speak it. I absolutely agree that the best way to learn Chinese is to find chances to practice speaking. Here, finding a Mandarin tutor can be very helpful. 9. Should I learn to write Chinese characters? My feeling is that the best way to learn Chinese is indeed to learn to draw the characters by hand. Doing so will help you to recognize them, and it will help you to acquire new ones more quickly. Real writing, which as you progress, could take the form of text messaging, chatting, or emailing, will eventually have a place, even if it's a small place, in what I consider the best way to learn Chinese. 10. The big soft skill, managing your motivation. The last note about the best way to learn Chinese has to do with motivation. Your motivation must be maintained. It will naturally be higher at some times, and lower at others. That is fine. Recognize, though, that your overall level of motivation, which is so important, is within your control. And it is no secret now among psychologists that a good mood will heighten your senses and make your intelligence keener. This will affect your learning and how you perform in executing your Mandarin skills, such as speaking and listening. Therefore, the best way to learn Mandarin, or to do anything well, is to maintain a happy disposition. So enjoy learning Mandarin, and, like the Chinese say, be happy every day.